this week holds for Bitcoin and Ether price. But first, please always feel welcome to check out the Shining Bull website where I have all kinds of offerings for all suns, especially a trading signal service for day traders, a weekly forecast, which is new for both swing traders and day traders, predictive books, and book bundle deals. And if nothing is within your price range, just follow me on Twitter and get notifications here on YouTube for this podcast because I give out a lot of free info here and on Twitter. So now let's look at this week. I'm sorry also, I left my window open so you may hear the ocean waves or vehicles. I apologize. But I hope that my sound quality is better. I'm trying to troubleshoot my external mic. Anyway, thanks for all your suggestions. I really appreciate it because, it actually helps me a lot. Any and all suggestions and feedback. So anyway, let's look at this week in Bitcoin and Ether price. Although I, the astrologer, live in beautiful Newfoundland, I am now giving these predictions as per UTC time. On Sunday UTC, I see that we are down for most of the day because on Sunday is when Mars, who transits in Leo now, enters into the 3-degree orb of opposition to retrograding Saturn in Aquarius, and this will initially depress price action. However, on Sunday late night, as Sun enters into Cancer, this is going to be the start of an important upwards movement. Monday UTC, I see that most of the day, or much of the day, we are retesting downward because Mars will join Sun in Cancer in the Navamsha. But when Moon enters Cancer in the early evening on Monday UTC, it will send Bitcoin and Ether back up. Then Tuesday, except for very early in the morning UTC, I see that the whole day we are heading up due to Moon's transit in relation to Mars in the sky. Late night on Tuesday, we may get some surprising news due to Mercury's Navamsha Pada transit, and I predict this being good for the industry. Then Wednesday early morning, there can be a serious drop, but later in the morning, an upswing should begin when Moon passes Mercury in Cancer. Thursday is a mix. There's going to be important downward retests and upward corrections, but then beginning late evening or night when Mars hits the exact opposition to Saturn, this starts an important, powerful upward movement. And remember, when I'm speaking about days, like here on this podcast, I'm referring to the daily chart. So the movements that I describe here will be visible on the daily chart. And I may do a video on the nature of time as related to trading or investing, but obviously you only see the movements on the daily chart after the day, because afterwards is when you see whether price has gone up or down. Contemplate that. Okay, so next Friday I see that we are powerfully up because of Moon's transit with Mars in Leo. Then on Saturday, although there is a mix of down and up, I would like to give you a heads up preview that Sunday early morning is when Venus turns retrograde, and I see this as being quite bad for all markets, Bitcoin, Ether, crypto, and the stock market. Okay, so that was the weekly forecast for this week ahead in Bitcoin and Ether price. And for intraday traders, my signal service is best, and my weekly forecast is also key for both day traders and swing traders. And I also have all kinds of fun bundles, so you can get special deals on my books also. My books give the larger context, which is also important for traders to understand, but obviously also great for investors. So next, and I guess my weekly forecast I'd like to say is also good for investors because I think This is one reason why financial astrology is so valuable. It's so that it gives you context. So when you see something shocking happen in the market, you know whether it's something that's truly like, an existential threat in the context of the greater cycle, or if it's just something punctual during, for example, an existing bull cycle. We're already in the bull cycle, as I've been mentioning since like literally I mentioned this at the beginning of the year, that the bottom was in the November bottom was the bottom. I mentioned this at the beginning of the year. So why? So that we can all orient ourselves, so you know where we are. Anyway, okay, sorry. Maybe I'm being a bit lectury today. All right, so next, let's talk about some news items from the past week. Again, although I, the astrologer, am physically located in Newfoundland, I am referencing UTC time as opposed to my time zone here in Newfoundland. So the biggest news this past week had to have been the Ripple XRP court ruling. On Thursday, July 13th, a New York judge ruled that retail sales of XRP made on exchanges did not constitute the sale of securities. And in typical fashion, Coinbase swiftly took action and relisted XRP for trading, and was followed by several large exchanges in doing so. And furthermore, the industry celebrated because this bodes well for all other projects whose tokens are being targeted as securities by the SEC. On Wednesday, the day before this, can I just say also, I'd like to mention, although a lot of people don't like that project, Ripple, because one reason is they're wary about CBDCs, and then other reasons may be more inner information that I'm not aware of. But actually, if you look just at the actions of, it could be in personal life, or it could be the actions of leaders, of projects, it's quite clear that this project has undertaken an action in their court fights which has benefited our whole industry. So I would say that the truth in everything actually lies in the actions, and because a lot of times even a person or entity may not be aware of the types of actions that they undertake, which are significant at a soul level or at a level that's important to altering reality for the benefit of others. So yeah, so that's what I would like to say about this. So I mean, they really benefited all of us actually by taking up their own personal fight, because look how much it's benefited the whole industry. And right on time actually, but they couldn't have possibly known that, right? So, because they took up their legal battles a long time ago. And anyway, on Wednesday, the day before this ruling was made, Mars in Leo began trining Ripple's natal moon. And Jupiter has recently been and is transiting in Aries in opposition to Ripple's natal retrograding and exalted Saturn in Swati Nakshatra. So as an astrologer, what I see as being very interesting is that when Jupiter slows down and turns around to transit retrograde on Monday, September 4th, he does so almost exactly on Ripple's natal Ketu, in almost exact opposition to Ripple's natal Rahu. This moment is also key in the BlackRock ETF filing, and you can read the article on my webpage if you want more details on this, or rewatch episode number 6 of this podcast. So I see that this moment will be good for the industry as a whole, just like this Ripple lawsuit was. But as for XRP price, I don't see it as being as significant as what is to come when Jupiter turns direct almost right on XRP's natal moon at the very end of this year, and then further along into January of 2024. There I'm also consulting the Dasha sequences for Ripple. And that's when Jupiter, like later on in January, that's when Jupiter will be opposing natal Saturn again. So as an astrologer, I also want to state something very important. For Ripple, for anyone who holds XRP, for Ripple, it's, well, first about Ripple, the project. So for Ripple, the project, it's important for them to focus on Ripple's work and its partnerships worldwide that will further its work in the world. And so I see that XRP is a long-term hold for XRP holders and for investors. And as an astrologer, I have been telling my clients this from the very beginning. So for investors, although it's likely that XRP appreciates in value at the beginning of 2024, it's important to keep in mind that beginning in February of 2025, which I've been saying for a very long time now, Ripple enters into a new bookkeeping of Jupiter, which is going to begin a period for Ripple in which it is used by governments transacting with each other, likely with their own CBDCs. And this, again, beginning February of 2025, is where XRP's price starts appreciating in a much more significant way. So I don't really see a $10 XRP as significant compared to what's coming for Ripple in 2025. So next, I would like, now I guess if you're swing trading XRP, I can see like maybe you folks are the ones who are asking more about like short-term stuff. So I'll try and maybe start doing swing trade alerts for XRP if I can get on that. I understand if that's what you're doing with XRP, then I understand that you're interested in like the shorter term and Next, I would like to comment on the news that on this past Wednesday, July 13th, the U.S. government moved 9,825 bitcoins. On the very first episode of this podcast, aired on Sunday, May 14th, I made a prediction about when the U.S. government will sell its remaining bitcoin. Please check out that episode if you have not already. I predicted that one of my top most likely dates was Tuesday, October 3rd of this year, and you can watch that episode for my reasoning. What I notice is that this past Wednesday's movement of the US government's Bitcoin confirms that date, as Venus was transiting almost right where he will be transiting on that date. In fact, on Tuesday, October 3rd, Venus will have just entered into Leo direct after his retrograde foray into Cancer. Please note that I don't see this creating a sustained drop, but rather a punctual drop in Bitcoin price, which will soon be reversed. However, I want to add two more dates closer to now that are possible dates when the US government sells. Those are first, Tuesday, July 25th, due to the transits of both Sun and Mercury, and second, Tuesday, August 1st. This is when Venus retrogrades over the point that Venus was transiting this past Wednesday when the US government moved its Bitcoin. So soon in the next few days, I will post a full article on my website so that you can easily reference all these dates. Very interesting. But yeah, there's something sort of almost enticing about being able to track when the US government itself moves its Bitcoin on the blockchain. But price-wise, I don't see that causing a bear market. I see that when they do that on those dates, it will create a drop. It could look like a very serious drop, but it will only be like that day basically, and we're likely to spring back quite soon. But with that being said, the sooner dates that I mentioned just now on this episode, those are actually during a little bit more of a serious kind of downward retest zone for Bitcoin, because it's when Venus is retrograding or in the retrograde shadow. So yeah, so that's a little bit kind of like, it can be during an existing kind of climate of downward retest. However, I don't think that the US government selling is actually going to be a catalyst for a huge, like a sustained price drop. I don't. So that's all for this week, and I'll see you next week, and I'm going to get some articles up on the website in the next few days also, so that you can have an easier reference. But I do always post the weekly forecast on the website also, so that you can easily reference it. Okay, see you next week. Thank you.